All right, it's that time of year. We've covered the draft, we've covered free agency, we've covered the players in the draft, we've live drafted. There's really one thing we haven't done yet, and that's power ranks. So, like we've done for recent power ranks, instead of trying to go 1 through 32 and get overly specific with this, especially with so many things moving on an hour by hour basis, we've tiered them. And Giants has once again shown the talents that members of this league have, sending up a really cool spreadsheet for us to use to do this and automatically put this together. So, hey, we can do these power ranks a little bit more often and a little bit more easily. So, thank you, Brandon, for all the hard work here, and thank you to those who filled it out, like Bill did. So, gentlemen, thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
happy to help out.
I love it. All right, so we're gonna do things a little bit differently this time. So, great suggestion before the pod started. Since some of the recent trades factor into where these teams are placed, we're going to start with the trades that have happened since last week's pod, and then we'll go into the content. If trades happen during the pod, we'll do sort of ESPN style, like ding in and give the trade live and discuss any updates it has to our rankings. But nonetheless, we'll do things a little bit out of order, and hopefully, it'll be a fun little twist for everybody. So. We'll start with the trade that had not been processed but was alluded to during our last week's pod, where I was discussing having the 109. It was because a trade had been agreed to between myself and Texans, but not processed by the GMs yet, by the commissioners yet. Where I gave DK Metcalf in the 424 for Brock Purdy, the 109, the 320, and the Bears second next year. Texans moves off of Brock Purdy, who has a great contract this year, but maybe not so great one next year. The 109, and locks up a top receiving player to put next to Deshaun Watson. I know we talked about this a little bit during the pod and post pod last week. Any final parting thoughts you guys want to have on that one?
No, I mean, I think DK for 109 is a solid deal. I think maybe he might be worth a little bit more generally, but overall, I think this was very even.
Yeah, I kept like looking at this trade probably for like 6 hours. I had to come back and look at it and like reassess. Like at first, I like really didn't like it for you, Mike. Um, and then I kind of flipped and I was like, I don't know. I feel like I regularly actually do like it. Sheer volume of assets returned, especially when you think about what you paid for DK. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I guess if I went both sides, it's probably a pretty fair deal, and it's just kind of a matter of what package you like better for the context of the team. So I think Purdy was probably worth more and like shouldn't have been a small throw in. Like if you just put the draft pick capital in there, it's probably still a fine trade either side. But um, I understood why you went for Purdy at the time, and little did we know it was just to package together with Lance later.
Yes, I'm always making trades, but nonetheless, we have some trades to talk about before we get to that. Next up, we have Broncos and Bills making a trade here. So, Bill, why don't you talk us through this deal?
So this was uh, kind of a twofold thing for me. I approached him about Schultz. I view Schultz as an upgrade over these two. Now, especially now that he's in Houston, there's not really other targets to go with Brandon Cooks being gone and just a questionable receiver room and rookie quarterbacks, which they probably will have, uh, tend to rely on tight ends a lot. So, yeah, he doesn't have a long term deal in Houston, but I don't need long term. I need 1 year for right now. Um, but yeah, Njoku and Higby are fine. Njoku was the bigger loss to me than Higby, but at the same time, this cleared up like $5 or $6 million in cap space that I was going to need to figure out eventually anyway. So I feel like I upgraded at tight end and I got the cap space, so it worked out, even though I did lose an asset in the 2-for-1.
Yeah, I definitely like the package of two better than Schultz. I think like everyone still is like fantasizing of the potential of Njoku, but he hasn't really shown it consistently ever. So I understand why Schultz could be more attractive, especially since Higbee was rather disappointing, and who knows what the state of the Rams is going to be this year and beyond. But I still think best ball, like just having both of them, was probably stronger. I understand you're also pretty cap strapped, so there's ulterior reasons there. But
Just remember what Barney Stinson said: "New is always better." So, hey, you traded two things you had for one thing that's new. Congratulations, new is always better. No, I mean, but to the broader point, from a best ball perspective, I would say Schultz is probably the tight end I prefer out of the three of these. If I had to, I don't know if I'd give up these two for him, but I'd say contract, position, and location, and game fit with. He's now joining what's likely to be a Shanahan style of offense. Tight ends do quite well on that offense. I like it. So, again, I could be wrong, but I think it'll turn out well for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Just trade down and your roll at Davis Mills again for another year.
Still fine with me.
Yeah. All right. We got back-to-back Chiefs deals here that just happened to happen 6 days apart, coincidentally. So the Chiefs moving Pierre Strong for the Rams 24th third. This is interesting because the Chiefs have Ramondre. There's chatter about other backs coming to New England. So it's almost like the player who would want to hang on to Strong is the Chiefs, but here he's trading him for a 24th third. So again, maybe this is reacting to rumors. I'm not 100% sure, but this one confused me, but I like the price the Panthers paid.
Yeah, Panthers paid a great price. Pierre Strong, until otherwise stated, is the RB2 there, in my opinion. I think that overall it's going to be a great deal for Panthers. I don't understand why Chiefs gave up his Patriots backfield, though. Like, that's the part that surprised me as well, is Chiefs did that. Like, the whole point was owning the backfield, I thought. And
I think the Patriots are the one team where like you'll never own their backfield, not long term.
Well, no, but I mean,
recycle their running backs constantly, and I still think Stevenson is the guy until they bring in someone else.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, like Strong still has value. Like everybody in a Patriots offense plays at some point, right? Like, I don't know. I just figured it was like insurance minimum.
Do we know where Strong was taken?
In our league or
Yeah,
in
our league. In our league.
I think he was a 3rd or a 4th round pick.
Yeah, I think it was a 3rd round pick in our league. I think, was it a 5th round pick in real life?
Yeah.
It was 4th, late 4th.
He was 422.
I don't know. We should probably ask our Patriots resident here what he thinks of Strong.
Yeah, RJ.
I think they're going to draft a running back. I don't know if it's going to be a quality running back, but it's just going to add another body to the depth chart. So, I don't know. You're probably going to get a year of production out of him. Like, I don't know what that level is though. Like, is it a Ramondre type of like breakout, or is it like, well, he's the 2nd best running back we have, so we just put him out there, and yeah, he doesn't average 3 yards a carry, but we don't have anything better.
Yeah, I don't know.
So yes, he's going to get an opportunity. It's just a matter of like how, like, I don't particularly think he's like some talent that, none of us have realized yet. So, in my opinion, he's just a guy that has a spot that any talented player could probably take that spot from him.
All right. So 4 of these next 5 deals involve the Bears. So he's going to be kind of the focus of this and kind of how he moves around with everything. So the first one is a cap dump by Chiefs, dumping $6 million in cap for a 24 fifth. I'd say that's better than the going rate right now in terms of, getting the deal for underpaying on that. But, good for you, Chiefs. We'll jump into the one that doesn't involve the Bears and then get back to the rest of the two. Actually, you know what? Let's finish out the Bears ones first, and then we'll we'll go back to that. So then today, the Bears give up Kyle Allen for Andrew Van Ginkel because he's getting the other piece of the Atlanta quarterback room, Desmond Ridder, from me for Lewis Cine, the 128, and the Seattle second in 24. And then swapping Zach Wilson for Daxton Hill in 424. So altogether, he picks up about $6 million in cap space for a fifth. Picks up more cap space. Takes on more cap, taking a $3.5 million Van Ginkel for $500,000 Kyle Allen. So picked up $3 million there. Then gave up a first-round safety last year, and then acquired a first-round safety last year, as well as picking up the other half of his quarterback room. So he now has what appears to be the Atlanta quarterback room. Moves Cine for Daxton Hill, moved off of Zach Wilson and Kyle Allen. And actually, that swap probably, got him 2/3 of the way back. So in all, only picks up $3 million, but moves off of a ton of cap space. So of these 4 deals kind of stacked up with each other, what do you guys think?
I like the consolidation of the Atlanta quarterbacks. I think the price that he paid for Ridder is going to be the starter this year, so it's like a late first, a presumed early second, and then Lewis was an early third. Is probably pretty good value.
So cheap.
Yeah. That being said, Ridder might not be the starter beyond this year, so he's taking that risk that he performs well enough where either Atlanta can't draft a quarterback or doesn't next year because of his performance. The Kyle Allen move, it was just a cap dump from my side and getting the backup for Bill. I think that's fine.
He was also trying to get rid of a quarterback because Ridder was his 4th quarterback. So
and I don't know if he would do I guess the Zach Wilson trade happened a couple hours after that. I'm not sure if he would do all 3. But yeah, it's an interesting pivot. I'm just looking at his roster now for what's left.
I don't know. I really don't understand the Zach Wilson move for what he got in return. Daxton Hill is a nickel corner more than anything, or is he starting now that Von Bell's gone? I don't know, but I don't know. Zach Wilson's going to be a backup, and I don't think he's going to be much other than a Josh Rosen type. He doesn't even make it through his first rookie contract, if anything past that. But even so, he's still worth a third, right? At least.
I thought he was worth a little bit more than that, but I guess he's just, in some people's eyes, just done.
I think he's done.
Okay.
Didn't that safety go in the third?
Lewis Cine.
Are you talking about Cine or Hill?
Hill, the one he just traded.
Hill was a first rounder in
Well, they were
For
both
real
first
NFL?
rounders in real life.
Yeah, I mean in our
They
league.
went back to back,
Gotcha.
and then in our league they were third or fourth rounders, and they went within like 3 picks of each other.
Yeah, so Lewisine was like 301 or 2. So yeah, okay. Daxton Hill was early third. So like early third value is still, I guess, kind of what he got there. And Hill should theoretically be a starting safety this year with Bates and Von Bell gone. Like he should be, someone should be starting there beside him. But
Yeah, I'm unsure what to make of this because, again, talking about Wilson as the guy who owned him earlier in the offseason, now that all signs are Rodgers playing there, it's kind of like I wouldn't take less than a third. I'd want more than a third for him. But at the same time, it's like I wouldn't pay more than a third. So a third seems like what it would take to get him, but I'm not sure if that's what you want to give him up for. I don't know. He's one of those tough players that way. And plus, there is still the possibility, which I highly doubt, it's a 1% of chance that things fall through with Green Bay and Zach Wilson goes into the season as a starter.
No,
So it's a really cheap lotto ticket.
yeah, I mean I agree. Like, well, as long as he's on his rookie contract, like he's a flyer that's still worth keeping, especially if you're going to get it for a safety or a third round pick. I'm curious about the vision. So Bears always kind of does this, or he makes some moves and like positions himself to be a bit more competitive, but like he's not going to be competitive enough. Like he does not have the depth on offense to turn this thing around, and I don't think he has more than a second really of. He's got 215 and then a fourth and a fifth. So I'm very curious. Like, is he gonna just like strip this defense down to build some offense and try and be as competitive as he can be?
Spoiler. He just likes to be the team that can fuck up somebody's season at the end of the year, trying to get into the playoffs.
I mean, how do I best describe this? It's he put himself behind the 8 ball by moving his picks, and he's always been behind the 8 ball. And it's kind of like Bill when you were trying to get your pick back last year, and everyone or others have tried to get their picks back. I'm like, okay, I'll give you your pick back, but I want $3 on the dollar for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to fuck things up instead, and you're not going to get as high of a pick as you want.
Right.
So he's gotten the 49ers pick, which, we'll get to the ranks in a second here, but I would expect should be in sort of the same range as his. So hopefully he's getting that pick or could move it. But it's almost like, Bears, I want you around for a while. I think you're a lot of fun. You're a great guest on the podcast. I want you in the league for a while. So don't take this the wrong way, but don't pay for 2025 until next year because I don't want you to have the ability to trade your 25 picks. Get through a season, get your picks back, and give yourself the flexibility to go into an offseason and do what you think is right. Until you do that, you're just going to keep having to play this game and be in a tough situation. So, again, stay in the league. I want you in the league for a long time. You're a lot of fun. You're an active owner. Great on the podcast. But if you haven't paid for 25 yet, don't do it until, you get through the season because you need to not move your 25 picks if you're asking me.
Yeah, I think we talked about this in a previous pod about like what we would do with his team, and like my thought then was the same now is like shed it, sell everything, and look at 24 and 25 picks and invest in that long term because like there's the building blocks just aren't there in this like short term window where like Desmond Ritter is going to be cheap, and so like maybe his plan is post NFL real life draft. Falcons, maybe they add a weapon, but they don't take a quarterback. Ritter's value should, potentially increase there to someone who's like, I want the Atlanta quarterback room for $14 million once they have Pitts, London, and I don't know, maybe they take JSN. That would be maybe his move, and that's his opportunity to kind of get more out of that transaction than he has currently.
So the other challenge here is, you'd want to get your pick back if you could, if you were to do something like that. But the Titans have his pick, who are also in the midst of probably a multi-season rebuild. So it's not like one of those like, hey, well, let me, do this and get my pick back. It's, okay, you're probably going to have to do like the Niners pick and something to make that kind of swap to make it worthwhile because, you always need to kind of midpoint it between what your pick's going to be and what it is right now. So like he could probably make that pick the 12th pick if he tried like he's set up to right now. But if he got his pick back and was able to kind of go all into the tank, then he could probably get into the top 5.
You think Titans wouldn't take Ritter for his pick next year?
Probably not. I mean, what does Ritter do for you? Or say you take Ritter and Heineke if you're the Titans. What does that do for you on your team? Your running back is still Dearness Johnson.
Yeah.
Isaiah McKenzie's your best receiver.
Titans trying to tank. He's not wanting to score points for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, he's a little bit away. So it could be one of those fun things where it's a win-win between teams that are rebuilding, but it's just the degree of difficulty is a little bit higher. All right. Anyways, last deal was mine. I blew up the league last night by moving Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Devin Duvernay, Justin Madubuike, Trayvon Diggs, and the 109 to the Saints for Kenny Pickett and 104. So before I go through and say why I thought it was a good idea to do this, I'll get your guys' thoughts on good idea, bad idea. Oh my God, what the hell were you thinking, Mike?
I love it for you. So
Perfectly priced deal.
Yep.
Perfectly priced.
Yeah, I saw somebody say that like they didn't like didn't like it when they saw the 109 involved, and I don't know how that assessment came about.
He got the 2022 103, and he got the 2023 104 for 109. I think that's perfectly fine.
And it wasn't just 109.
Yeah, I know, but like still, like yeah.
He also traded he traded the 2 of the 3 quarterbacks in like a quarterback room that is typically a pretty desirable landing spot. So I think it's like I said, I think it's fair value.
I think Mike watched a lot of George Pickens highlights last year and was like, you know what, I need his quarterback and I have to have the stack.
I mean, I'm jealous because I would have loved to have gotten both of those assets.
I think I'm very curious, Mike, how much our draft from last pod maybe influenced this pick, thinking that 104 could be Bijan.
I made that joke earlier, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, though, right? Like, we all know how Mike is. He loves to rotate. So if the quarterback he really wants, like let's say Anthony Richardson, is the guy that he wants, and he's there at 4, buy Pickett. Like he'll go with Richardson and Pickett, or he'll move Pickett for whatever the hell else he wants down the road. Like I'm very jealous that Mike has Kenny, and I'm not gonna hide that. But I love it. I think RJ's right. Perfectly priced deal, could be viewed as overpay, but I don't think it is.
Right. So the 2 deals that Saints and I have done have been of the sort where, the best asset in the deal is coming to me, but there are multiple assets in the deal going to him that have really high upside. So again, let's focus on kind of the quarterback deal here. Trey Lance and Brock Purdy for Kenny Pickett. Right now, it's the 2 most likely starters in San Francisco for the starter in Pittsburgh. If Lance gets that, that's huge upside. If Lance gets traded and it's 2 starting quarterbacks, that's huge upside. Right now, it's probably a question of Kenny's got the more stable future, but the upside of this is all on Saints' side. Mm-hmm. Then if I take the other 3 pieces and the pick swap, Duvernay still has the special teams aspect, but the OBJ signing I thought really hurt him. So I probably gave up on him, probably cheaper than I bought him, but it is what it is. Matabuki, cheap, young, the end eligible guy this year, moving to D tackle next year, but cheap points and helps Saints as he kind of reforms his team. Diggs obviously good, and then moving all this for moving back 5 picks. It's very much there's a lot of upside here for Saints. I would say I've got probably the 2 best assets in the deal, but if Saints were to kind of either ride this as the rebuild or break these pieces down at the right time, he absolutely could get more value than this. So I that's why I like the deal. For me, obviously, I took it, but it was one of those where I had to think a little bit and say, okay, all of these pieces could drastically increase in value from where they are right now.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the upside scenario like swings this way into Saints' favor if that happens. Obviously, there's that risk, but
Right, and
yeah,
there's the same risk that you were talking about. If Purdy busts after it was 1 year wonder, Lance can't hack it, and these guys kind of fall apart, then again, it can swing both ways. But Saints opened himself up for multiple ways for this deal to end up in his favor, which if you're going to make a deal like this, you've got to have.
Yeah.
All right, so those are the deals that have gone down. So let's move to the rankings. So as discussed, if you guys make a deal in the podcast, we will break and talk about that deal. So make some trade offers. Anyways, appreciate again the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 owners. Wow, who came in and did power ranks. Greatly appreciated. So what this, you know what? I'm not going to describe this spreadsheet. Brandon, you describe the spreadsheet because you made it and it's freaking awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm making changes to mine as we're going.
That's fine.
How dare you change your mind?
So this is more just kind of like an evolution of a ranking sheet we did last year, but I guess made it a little bit simpler or sexier with some drop down of team names. But I'm glad that folks love it. I made it in about 5 or 10 minutes, but yeah, I think the main kind of concept is we have buckets of tiers, I guess, of teams, contender, playoff team, on the fence, and maybe next year, and then any owner is allowed to kind of come in here. So if you want to have your opinion stated and affect the kind of average here, please feel free. But yeah, any owner can kind of add their name to a column and fill out their kind of personal rankings. Some of us are more thoughtful, I think, in terms of like making sure that there's at least like one division winner for every playoff team, bucket, etc. I see like Panthers here just put like his top 2 teams in the contenders section. So you can kind of do it however you want, but the columns on the right, column O and U, is kind of the summary of just the tiers, right? So you have like your contenders, and then based off of like the aggregate of the scores, you have some fringe contenders who might be in both of those buckets, and then kind of the potential playoff teams, and then the last 2 rebuilding teams are here. So it's not a ranking on the right here. It's really just your tier, and broken out a little bit more detailed than the original 4 buckets that folks could add.
I like it. It was really convenient.
Yeah, I think so. Part of the reason I did it with the list was because last year there was a bunch of misspellings or different ways of representing a team. So it was a pain in the ass to get like a summary of what everyone thought. So this was kind of the easiest way to like encourage some uniformity.
Fair.
All right. So what we'll do here is we'll go through kind of tier by tier. We'll start from the bottom. Talk about who's in each of these tiers, and then if we have differences of opinion on whether they belong in this tier or not, then we can go through that. So the teams in the not your year. You got the Texans, the Niners, the Bears, the Titans, the Eagles, the Saints, the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Patriots.
I'm offended.
That you're not in your own tier is 6?
Oh, fair. I can't believe you guys don't think I'm going to make the playoffs.
Well, this is pre-draft, RJ. So during the draft, when you flip all of these 24 picks that are in the late 24 for middle round value in this round, in this draft, I'm going to be super annoyed, and we can do our post-draft pod, and you can see how many tiers up you can jump.
Try to make the playoffs with all the quality third round picks. No, none of those really stand out to me as far as like the averages.
I think 49ers is maybe worth talking about.
That's fair. That whole division's kind of weird. Like I don't think I definitely don't have any of them past like on the fence. Wait, no,
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
so
no,
the 49ers look like they're a quarterback away from really having a shot. But again, it's the entire roster is like, again, just unfortunate, except for the defense misses. So I think I put them in the 4th tier, personally. Not as, let's see.
Yeah, so there's 4 tiers on the left, and I added like a fringe contender team to account for like those that were bouncing between those two. So a 4, it would be, it's not your year on the individual rankings. Sorry to make that confusing.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I would say of those last tier teams, the Niners worth talking about, but there's actually 2 other teams I would mention before them. It's the Texans and the Bears. So we just talked about the Bears probably needing to rethink their strategy or find a way to reapproach things. But because they don't control their first this year, they are not going to try and be a bottom 10 team. So yes, it's not their year, but they're going to do everything they can to get to 6 or 7 wins. And hey, if something breaks in their favor, if Ritter ends up as a 4,000-yard passer or something like that, then hey, who knows? He could be on the fence.
Yeah, but as of today, pre-draft, they sucked.
I wouldn't say that. I just thought he was making a move to get younger.
Well, okay. It's not their year. We'll put it that way.
Yeah,
I agree.
They can jump.
I agree with the Texans too. I think I had them on the fence actually in my personal rankings. He's had some pretty positive directional changes for the Texans roster since he took over. I think he still has 105 and 108. He added DK and Wandale. I'm hoping, as a Giants fan, is good a receiver. So if 105 is a running back and 108 maybe he trades down, that's a weak division, and he's got some decent defensive depth. The roster's not too far away. And Deshaun, I mean, if he returns to form, that'll be very interesting.
I'll give you a hint. He's not going to.
I mean, yeah, it's some things are up in the air right now. But the other aspect of this as well, Brandon alluded to this, is division. The Jags are coming out of a rebuild, but not quite 100% yet. The Colts are in an interesting position. They've got some really strong players, but no more draft assets and not a lot of depth. He's got to break things down and kind of get the right value for it. Titans are rebuilding. Like, there is a 10% chance, I'd put it at, that Texans can win this division.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
That
because of that,
division-
I would say he's on the fence because we're not even talking about solid playoff team or fringe playoff team. We're talking on the fence.
like just getting in.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
can see a 7 or 8 win team winning this division if things break right, and I can see with what Texans has and what they'd add to the draft. I know we did this all a little bit differently. Brandon mentioned that him getting in that way. So that's the only team I guess that we can agree. Maybe a little bit on the fence, but who knows?
Did any of us actually put them in that category?
Sorry, I accidentally
On the
closed
fence?
window here.
I put the Texans on the fence.
Yeah, I put them on the fence, but I don't think any of us put them like any of the particular people that are on the pod. I don't think any of us put them worse than on the fence.
I'm maybe next year for Texans.
Yeah.
What? I'm offended for Texans.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it as of today. Like if today,
Yeah, he has 2 franchise quarterbacks.
So
That's
RJ put Texans on the fence. Texans put himself as maybe next year.
We're higher on him than he is.
Kyle put Texans as maybe next year. I put the Texans as on the fence. James had him as maybe next year. Bill had him as maybe next year. Brandon had him as on the fence. So we've got 1, 2, 3 on the fences, and 4, I guess, next year's. So that's how it averaged out to not your year.
Yep.
All right. Well, fair enough. All right. So we've got 3 teams on the fence. There's one real surprise. Actually, you know what? These are interesting.
Are you talking about the Steelers?
Honestly,
Again,
all
this-
3 of them are pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
'Cause-
Steelers is only on the fence to me because of the fucking division he plays in.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if all 4 of those teams made it into the playoffs.
Yeah, but like out of the division, he was the only one that missed last year. Like they're not weak in that division. It's anybody's game, but it's a total crapshoot.
Yeah. So I have all 3 of them on the fence, but it's because I made sure that my playoff and contender rankings had no more than 2 teams from each division outside of the NFC South. So like I just forced them essentially in the on the fence category, even though they all could be in the conversation for me. I was more strict on what I was going to put in playoff team.
So yeah, this is just going to be tough because the South and the East are each going to have 1 team. The North and the West are going to have 7 teams vying for 5 spots.
Mhm.
And it's just going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be one of the few years where we get out of the first 4 weeks and the season isn't decided.
Yeah,
So I guess this means, and I don't want to jump ahead, that the power rank favorite to win the South is the Jags.
Yep.
no.
Okay. Who?
Well, hang
So
on.
the Colts and Texans are already accounted for, as are the Titans. The Jags are a potential playoff team.
Yeah, as far as the average goes, yeah, he's the favorite.
All right, interesting. Steelers we talked about. Jets are interesting too. And again, I know a lot of teams people did just the where they are right now, but he's still got 4 first-round picks. He's got a incredible receiver room. Jimmy is a starter. If he finds a running back of any consequence, either in the draft or through a trade, and then the defense, he spent a lot of money on it. He still has cap to go improve that. I mean, it's going to be hard to catch the Dolphins. So I don't know if he, should be in the move draft capital for player move, but he could easily move up into this next tier. He's probably the easiest to move up into this next tier. But granted, he would have to jump the Steelers and maybe another team, so maybe not.
He's the closest thing to a like finished product right now, like while still like having the luxury of being able to add multiple first round picks. As far as like teams that are, fringe teams.
So I love this.
I'm
We
just
have
really
5
not.
contenders. We have
Sense.
4 fringe contenders, and we have 11 potential playoff teams beyond who we've talked about being on the fence.
Technically, there's one more contender. I'm being an ass with my rankings, and it screws up one team's average.
Oh my god. You
I'll
put
change
me
it.
on the fence.
No, look, I had Bengals all the way at the bottom of on the fence, mostly for giggles.
The Giants is on. The Giants is on the fence. This is.
Oh, I guess it doesn't change Bengals rating if I move them to a playoff team. I don't have them as a contender right now just because of quarterbacks, but fix my rankings just.
Well, your rankings, so enjoy them. So, potential playoff teams. We have the Broncos, the Rams, the Dolphins, the current defending champion Dolphins, the Chargers.
Nope.
Oh, that's the Buccaneers. The defending AFC champions. You know what? I don't like to let the facts interfere with a good story. So let me start from the top. Broncos, Rams, Dolphins, Chargers, Panthers, Cardinals, Jags, Bills, Commanders, Cowboys, and Raiders. So now that we're in the middle of the pack here, let's get a reaction either up or down of somebody you think either doesn't belong this high or someone you still think is too low.
That's a great question.
I have Cardinals might potentially be, yeah. I have concerns about Bengals, but I've already voiced them.
Is Bengals in the third?
No, we're just talking about third. I thought we were talking about all of them.
No, we're just talking about the potential teams here. So,
okay, sorry, I gotta help myself.
So I'm going to commit blasphemy here. Okay. I'm going to talk about a team that has Christian McCaffrey on it and a quarterback as a team that probably shouldn't be considered a potential playoff team.
Yeah,
I can agree.
I don't know, man. I mean, his roster is pretty great, and as you made the argument for Texans, the division is terrible.
The Dolphins were the AFC champion last year.
Dolphins roster sucks,
and we're talking about the Jets being a high upside team. I don't disagree. He has 31 players currently rostered. Like 15 of them are offensive or less. The
Dolphins are the challenger for sure. But
he has 11 offensive players and no pick until 224 in the draft.
Who are you talking about?
The Bills.
Okay.
This is best ball.
We need 9 players.
He's got basically a starting offense.
We need 9.
Yeah, you're telling me that a two player surplus is sufficient in a best
Dude,
ball?
I'm running with like 11, and I believe in myself. He believes in himself too.
You got Debo and Chase.
I believe in me.
That's right. I believe.
I believe in me.
No, so I look at the Dolphins, and I have huge concerns because of Saquon. If you take Saquon out of that lineup, he has literally nothing to like balance out the roster. Like everybody he had last year basically had career seasons. That's not going to repeat. He's not going to go to the Super Bowl again. And he doesn't have the roster that beats the Bills, in my opinion. The Jets is going to rely on Jimmy G to stay healthy for 17 games. Good luck. And then he doesn't have anything at running back. So, again, I did all of this as of today. Draft will change. We'll do a post-draft rankings, and it'll all be different, I'm sure.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think this is the Bills division as of right now today.
Yo, get them hot takes out. I love it.
I just disagree.
All right. So I threw something out there saying too low. Bill disagrees. Somebody else try.
I got the Patriots winning that.
the Dolphins have a get out of jail free card. At any moment, they could decide, you know what? You're right. I need to build up some depth on the roster. Why don't I try and trade Jalen Hurts?
Because he's never going to.
For a whole team, essentially.
He's been offered so much from so many people.
I'll give him my whole roster.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is with the Dolphins, like I'm like one of those people, like I don't care how bad you become the next season. I normally just like, you guys were in the Super Bowl, you're automatic contenders like for the title next year. I can't do it with him. I can't. You can't have a career season roster and then repeat. You're not going to.
All right. Any other thoughts up or down of the third tier?
Chargers.
Yeah.
I don't. Right now, I don't really know if that's a very good team.
Everything
Outside of
comes
play.
down to Geno.
Are you off the Sam Howell train now that you don't have him on your roster?
Well, okay. So if he doesn't have Geno, he's got to rely on Howell, and we don't know. I think Howell's going to be fine, but he shouldn't produce the way Geno should as a 12-year veteran. Nick Chubb is great, obviously.
For now.
Yep. Mostert is old and may not even be the RB1 in Miami right now.
Salvin Ahmad, is that your music?
Oh man, I hope so.
And then like he doesn't have a great receiver core, but it's serviceable. Like,
yeah,
that's kind of what it is.
It's
like,
a decent best ball core, and he's got 117. I assume that'll be an offensive piece.
Yeah, Matt left him a great roster to take over. He didn't destroy it, and I know that we haven't gotten to him yet because he's in a different tier, but it's very similar to the Chiefs. He has a bunch of average pieces, but he has depth everywhere. So I don't know. I personally feel like Chargers is placed in the proper spot, and I feel like it's going to be a 3-headed race in the West for 1 to 2 spots, depending on how the North does.
Who are we saying is the second best team in that division?
The Chiefs, in my opinion.
The Chiefs are the second best team in that division?
I have a theory on the Chiefs roster, but I don't think
he's the best team in the division.
Yeah,
that's what I'm backing into.
Yeah, of course I believe in myself.
Yeah,
I believe in myself.
Yeah, that's not a terrible thing.
Hey, you know what? That's going to be the next Power Rank podcast. Somebody remind me of that when that happens. It needs to be this Power Rank or something like that. It's I believe in myself.
So I mean, we can get into that whenever we get to the Chiefs discussion, I suppose. But I'm not trying to pull a Panthers and just be happy with beating the Bucks one time. I'm trying to take the division, and I have full confidence that I can.
It was Falcons, not Bucks, was the one time that
was it Falcons? I thought he was talking about Bucks.
No, he just wanted to beat Falcons once.
Oh, well, whatever. Same point still applies. Like, I got the team wrong. That's my fault.
Exactly. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Yeah.
Right. Bucks is still here.
This is true. All right. So let's move towards those fringe contenders. 4 of those. Bengals, Vikings, Falcons, Ravens.
I don't understand why Falcons is in this tier.
Yeah, I think of the teams left, he's the worst solely because Murray's going to miss the first half of the season.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he's in this tier without a quarterback.
Because, the rest of his team is legit that good.
Not that good.
So the reason that you guys don't want him in this tier, and let's just lay it out there. Everyone knows if he makes 1 or 2 deals to create the cap space and keep the rest of his team solid, that he belongs in this tier or the tier above. It's
Yep.
because he's not made those deals or not engaged on those deals that people think he goes
But
below.
that was
because-
the homework, Mike. It was this. It was the team as of today.
So literally, we talked about this in chat earlier today. You asked, or whatever Mike says, and then I responded saying, I think everyone should do how they want to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be how it is. It's all different. It's all
Yeah.
for conversation purposes.
So, again, the team as it is today doesn't have a quarterback, but it has. Let's just go ahead and snap through here real fast. Josh Jacobs, the rushing title leader. David Montgomery, who's a timeshare in Detroit. But then Rachaad White, who's the new RB1 in Tampa, and Etienne, who's the new RB1 in Jacksonville, entering his third year. Stephon Diggs, a stud. Chris Godwin, a perpetual stud. Devonta Parker and Curtis Samuel. Waller in an improved situation in New York. Then we get to the defensive side of the world. Grady Jarrett is an absolute stud. Pass rush of guys who are in the 100s. Again, a good set of depth that he's going to give him points as he needs it. Probably one of the better linebacking cores in the league between Tranquil, Kendricks, and David. He doesn't have corners, and he's got really good safeties. So basically, as it stands today, his only weakness is Kyler. Without Kyler, this team is still putting up 200.
Yeah.
200 is going to beat everybody in the league except for 8 teams.
Yeah, his entire division. Like his division is
Well,
a monster.
He's got Saints twice, but yeah.
Yeah, I have 9. I would have 9 teams roughly above or comparably ranked. So you get no disagreement on that with me.
So, again, as far as I'm concerned, he absolutely belongs in this tier. I put my ranks together looking at upside. He is not engaged in the activities to seize that upside, so I understand why people have done what they've done. But I can't look at this team and not think contender.
So to give my brother some slack here, everyone keeps saying he has not engaged. He is declining the low ball trade offers that people are sending him left and right. Don't you worry. So he's not just like sitting on his ass. He just the things he's been sending out haven't been accepted, and he hasn't gotten something in his inbox that he's liked to make some of these, this 1 or 2 moves that would keep him in this conversation going forward.
So again, he's declining, and again, I don't want to attack a new owner. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to encourage action, encourage what he should be doing here, because a good deal is not going to just show up on your doorstep and say, here, please, let me give you $1.25 on your dollar. Like,
Right.
I'm excited to do this. Let's do this. Please take advantage of me.
Yeah.
That's how I got Josh Allen. I don't know.
Yeah, but you interact with people. That's the thing.
Yeah. Like you have to go and try and kind of start some conversations here. And that's something that I haven't seen him do yet. And again, look, everyone's got crazy lives. Everyone, has other things going on. I'm not trying to judge because people aren't spending as much time on this league as some of the other of us are. That's not my intent with this comment. My comment is spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes a week sending offers out or responding to offers or looking for players you like and sending some DMs. Like, spend 20 minutes doing that. And I guarantee you, within 2 weeks, you'll have the moves made you want to make and be in the position you want to be in. There's no question in my mind. If he spends 20 minutes in the next 2 weeks, he will make the deals he needs to make.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that he's not a playoff team because of the activity level. I'm just strictly basing it off that he does not have a quarterback, and that's where I'm looking at it from. But I mean, obviously, yes, it will change. He'll figure something out. He'll move Kyler. He'll get a quarterback, or he won't. But I mean, even so, like, roster's great. Yes, no quarterback, no playoffs for you.
All right.
Didn't Bengals already prove that you don't need a quarterback?
I don't know that I was here for that.
You don't need a quarterback,
Well,
but
Mitch
you need
Trubisky went
somebody
on a
that
hot
has a
streak that
job.
year.
Yeah. We're still
That was-
waiting for somebody to take the league with a zero quarterback strategy.
That year was epic. Not only did Mitch Trubisky have an epic year, but then at the end of it, I think it was Bengals was able to move Trubisky for Tom Brady or something of that effect, where it's like, okay, you have the ultimate question mark at quarterback, and somebody gives you Tom Brady for him. It was truly a moment in league history. All right, so let's move on to the contenders here. We've got 5. Browns, Chiefs, Packers, Giants, and Buccaneers. We're going to talk about each of these teams because they're listed as contenders. But because we've talked about the Chiefs a little bit first, I think we should probably start with them. So, Bill, you've done some analysis here. What are you thinking?
I think he downgraded at quarterback, and his roster is generally average. But I made that comment earlier. Like it's a roster filled with producers, but average producers at best. I think that this might be an interesting way to look at it, and it's probably a little bit inflammatory. I think the only reason he made the run that he made last year is because he had Justin Fields, and Justin went on that crazy run. I think that Derek Carr is not going to produce nearly as well as Justin will, and I think that this is going to backfire on him.
All right, so average roster without that stud quarterback at the cheap price. So we're a little concerned here.
I think the floor of his roster is incredibly high because of his depth. Like, I mean, he has 3 number 1 running backs in their applicable offenses. He has Lockett, Juju, and KJ Osborne are all number 2 wide receivers right now on their teams, plus additional like number 3 wide receivers. That's just his offense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like his team is incredibly deep across every position. Just about.
It's depth with average.
It's a
goose team.
It's a pretty good team. It has a lot of depth. It's just a lot of players that aren't flashy. Like you don't particularly want any of these players like on your own roster, but they all produce and they're all like known players in the league. Like nobody out of all of these, none of these guys are probably going to lose their job to a draft pick other than the running backs, because running backs always a revolving door. Right. But like the rest of the roster is pretty solid. Like, but it's just not like, oh, that big name, this big name, that flashy player. It's a whole bunch of guys that are just like, yeah, I got a bunch of guys that'll put up 130 points this year.
Yeah.
And again, the guys who are, he's going to move like, we'll find a way to move Juju for like Hunter Renfrow in a first.
And not for nothing, but on principle, he shouldn't be allowed in this category because he paid Derek Barnett $12.5 million.
All right. So again, one of the other things I've been noticing as we've been doing this is due to the different approaches in our league, none of our 5 contenders are unanimous.
Really?
Well, Panthers kind of skews that.
So Panthers has Browns and Chiefs. Bill has Buccaneers, Packers, and Giants. So again, just from definition, since there's
Giants is on every list except for Panthers. I think Panthers was trolling when he did this list, by the way.
Very possibly. But, I mean, initially, RJ had Giants down on the fence. So, I mean, he's on the fence of where Brandon sits right now.
It's just where he wants me.
Exactly. All right, so let's move on to the next team here. Let's talk about the Browns.
I think this is very interesting.
Go on.
That entire contendership depends on Alvin Kamara getting suspended or not.
I disagree, but go on.
Well, Dobbins is not safe to rely on for health purposes. P. Ryan, I don't know how long he's going to have the starting job because I don't know when Javante's coming back, but there is that concern as well. And Zamir White is nothing at this point in time, and Gordon doesn't have a job. So his running back has a concern factor. Can it get him 5 to 10 points a week and, be relevant? Of course, but it's a hole that he didn't have to worry about last year. Great wide receiver room, has a top 5 tight end, and then has a great defense. Like his defense is unquestionably great. But I don't know, just the running back thing, it freaks me out because I'm pretty sure, like I might be wrong on this, I'm pretty sure that was his downfall last year as well. He didn't have a running back.
Yeah, I think Kamara will be suspended. I think he acquired him assuming that he would be only partially available. I do think P. Ryan is likely going to be pretty productive this year because one, Javante's knee was pretty fudged up. So they're not gonna. I don't think he's gonna be back right away. And when he is back, I don't think they're gonna be like, all right, you're pounding the rock 20 times a game. And P. Ryan has proven with the Bengals as a Joe Mixon or former Joe Mixon owner. Me and Mike, we can attest to how much we love Joe Mixon. P. Ryan was on the field all the time in passing situations. So I think he's going to be.
But can he handle a full workload? That's the question that nobody knows.
I don't think he needs to.
Definitely.
He's the only guy there right now.
I'm a big fan of P. Ryan right now, but I keep seeing a lot of Denver beat reporters talking about drafting a running back, even if it's not like one of the prominent names. So I don't expect P. Ryan to get the full workload. But if there's one of those like unheralded names in the league that you want to like have your backfield while your stud running back's hurt, I think P. Ryan's at the top of that list.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Panthers should be like knocking on his door trying to get P. Ryan.
Not gonna lie, I may have a T-shirt on right now that has Samaje Perine's face on it. So
good. I am proud of you. I know that you have that shirt, so you've worn it before, and I approve.
It's an inside joke for another league, but it's good times. All right, move on to talk about the Packers, who again was not unanimous across teams here. Again, he's got a tough division, but like he's the class of that division and truly had literally everything go wrong going into the playoffs last year is the reason that he didn't make it much further. Like Kupp got hurt, Lamar got hurt. I think
and he ran into a buzzsaw. Like who did he play? Was it Falcons?
So he ran into the Falcons. He lost 4 of his top 5 players.
Yeah, but like we looked at it and we were like, it wouldn't even have made a difference because he got smoked that much. Like it was just a bad draw for him. It wouldn't have made any difference. But yeah, the worst luck of all of us last year was Packers.
So I am curious here. I'm going back to last year's to see if I can find the.
And he found a way to turn Lamar into 2 starting quarterbacks.
Playoff brackets.
The best quarterback in the league, and Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, yeah. So he lost that game by 110 points because without all of those players, he only scored 194, and Falcons scored 307.
Yeah. Yeah, he got smoked.
Which again is
that was without Kyler, right?
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
that's
so.
right.
Oh my
I
god.
think so.
So yes, what are we saying about not being able to score without Kyler and not having a quarterback?
What Falcons did was an enigma, and it will never be repeated ever.
Yeah, still didn't win a championship, so it doesn't really.
Doesn't count. You won
Yeah.
one game.
No, like having an early exit in the not an getting knocked out of the playoffs before the championship round with zero quarterback doesn't appeal to me as much as winning a championship with Mitchell Trubisky. That's the closest thing to a zero QB that we've seen so far.
Yeah. I mean, his biggest loss was Devontae Adams because Cowboys did the only thing he could and took on a $40 million player. And after free agency, it looks brilliant. But, I mean, even without Devontae, his wide receiver room is still amazing. And does he have picks still?
Yeah, he's got the pick from the Cowboys, 132.
Okay, so he can go get a late receiver and do whatever. But as of today, I mean, it's still wonderful. Like, he doesn't need much.
I still would have matched that Devontae offer.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's hindsight.
I said it at the time.
Yeah, match it.
No,
But then
I
he
mean,
wouldn't-
he did it at the time, but then Reddick at the time was a
Yeah.
critical piece.
Yeah, and that's
and
the
then
thing.
3
I
weeks
would have
later,
wanted
we go to
Reddick.
true position.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So-
it's tough.
But it looks.
You really
it
want to
looks-
talk about Giants?
No.
Probably need
Let's
to.
just go to the Bucks. Let's just go to the Bucks.
No, we need to be fair.
Wait, we haven't even talked about the Cowboys. Do they have like some special tier above all the?
No, they were
Contenders?
in the tier 3 and nobody brought them up.
I know, I'm just joking.
Oh well, I mean, they're America's team. We're supposed to talk about it, right? Even if it is in passing.
No, we can talk about Giants though.
So, I feel like the Giants are the team in this section with the highest floor, but the lowest ceiling.
Oh, I feel like this team is very much a pretty typical Giants team, minus one receiver, 2 receivers. I mean, it's very glass cannony, with like an extra quality receiver thrown into the normal Giants good rosters.
Yes, you named it perfectly. The glass cannon.
Like I don't mean this to be like an insult or a compliment, but like Giants builds quality teams that the fatal flaw is like depth most of the time. Has pieces but misses that like middling depth. Like you have the guys that kind of just get you the bare minimum points, and then you have studs, but you have like none of the guys in between. But then so typical team, except there's a Jerry Jeudy thrown in there and a Gabe Davis. Which like
Again,
it's
we're
a
not
good
saying
team.
that he should break all this down and say, okay, yeah, because you have, AJ Brown, Gabe Davis, and Jerry Jeudy as receivers, you need to go get a bunch of 100-point guys. Like, it's just a question of will you have the flexibility and the assets still available to go fill the holes when the holes happen.
Yeah, what I was more getting at is this is comparable to the is it 2018 team with Lamar Jackson that won the championship?
Yeah.
Except like I said, one extra wide receiver thrown in there. So I think it's a really good team, and like if things go your way, we've seen it in the past. You've built a team that can win championship. See if do it again. But I do
think
agree
this-
with Mike. Like
I think
add
this
some
is
of the
the-
100-point guys.
Deepest team I've had, actually.
Yes,
Um,
I will agree with that.
Which doesn't change your guys' analysis. But I do think this is definitely like the deepest roster to date that I've fielded, which I'm happy about.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't disagree. I'm top heavy at certain positions. I feel pretty good about my wide receiver room.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
But-
You have every right to.
No, I mean of the positions, it's definitely your deepest. But again, it's kind of Najee and then a bunch of running back twos. And not you just necessarily multiple starting quarterbacks, but it's Allen and then not great. Kittle's turning 30th this year. It's again, that's why we're saying glass cannon. But again, from a pure starter perspective, it's tough to keep up with that firepower.
Hmm. If everybody stays healthy, it seems one of those that like its lowest output is in like the 205, 201. Like, and it just stays in the high 220s or higher.
So again, the other side of that coin, and this is kind of a transition, is Buccaneers. So Fields, the top starting lineup of the Buccaneers does not hold a candle to the top starting lineup of the Giants. Everything breaks right.
Hmm.
Fields is not as good as Allen.
No.
Eckler is one of those few areas where Eckler is probably better than Najee. But in addition, while Damien's potentially getting some competition, he's better than the depth that Giants has in James Robinson, probably with that too. So slightly better depth there. Again, A.J. Brown, better than anything the Buccaneers have here, but probably 2 through 4 go to the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the story all over the place, is the top player at each position is probably with the Giants. And then anywhere from 2 to 4 of the next best at the position go to the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I really like his defense, like a lot.
Yeah, $5 million Max Crosby will do that to you.
And just
Yep.
like walking into Zaire Franklin and Louvu and having the linebacker room is great.
Oh, he didn't walk into Zaire Franklin. he
He
traded
traded for Zaire Franklin.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, like his defense is solid. It's very hard to compete against that, with another defense in the league. And yeah, I mean, his offense is solid. His weak spot, quote unquote, is probably running back because Eckler can be healthy, but there's no guarantee. He has been injured before, and then the rest of it is just questionable. But I don't know. I still like him to go very far.
Yep, still in the mix of it. So, all right. That's the pre-draft power ranks. That's 75 minutes of content. Excellent job, gentlemen. You guys are fantastic at this. You guys could be professionals. I'm not going to pay you, though. Sorry. Anyways, for those who are listening, the two of you, appreciate it. For those who are listening in the future, also appreciate it. But we're going to get to the fun part and try and make some trades happen. So let's get going and let's make the best of these 2 weeks we have before the real NFL draft gets underway and the few days after that before we get into our draft. So enjoy.